Good evening. Let's call this meeting to order, and I want to welcome each and everyone for being here this evening.
Mayor Tonita Gurle Hiro.
Present.
Councilor David G. Romero.
Here.
Councilor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Councilor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Councilor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Ulibarri, would you please do the moment of silence?
Dear Father, a moment of thanks for Randy Garcia and Vinay Garcia's father just passed away. He was a general contractor here in Las Vegas. Keep the family in your prayers. And for Alvin Giron's daughter, who was a tragic accident, keep them in your prayers.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the approval of the agenda.
Thank you,
Madam
Mayor.
Mayor, members of the council, we were unable to contact all of the parties on items, business items 2 and 3. Therefore, my recommendation is to table these 2 items until a later date.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions, comments?
Madam Mayor?
Councilor Romero.
I just had one question, and I know we're probably going to table it, I would assume. But I just had one question pertaining to the notices on these. On the zoning ordinance 450-114, it says council to hold public hearings on commission's recommendations. In that ordinance, it says that it should be published 15 days prior to the said hearing, and I know we're holding a hearing within these, so based off of, I know we do the 72-hour, but based off of that, are we going to have to do the 15 days?
I'll turn that over to City Attorney.
Mayor, councilors, that is correct. There is a notice that must be published. We plan to notify the local paper and have that in the paper at least 15 days in advance.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I believe that we're already aware of that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to the meeting?
Yes.
And that is part of the reason that we are tabling them?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct, okay.
And that
Thank
would
you.
be items,
2 and 3?
tabling items 2 and 3.
Madam Mayor,
Okay, yes. Councilor.
parliamentary, you have I can't even say it,
Parliamentary
parliamentarily,
procedure.
you should be adopting the agenda before you table any of the items on it.
Well, that's precisely what you're asking for, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The amendment to the agenda, yes, before anything.
I
Of
move
course.
that we approve the agenda as presented, and then we table the items when we get to them.
Would we remove them, or would we take, I guess I'm asking,
You
I'm
can't
referring
remove
it
them
to.
before you make the motion to approve the agenda. The agenda has to be approved first, and then the motion has to be made to delete those items. Yes.
Exactly, within the motion of the approval of the agenda, correct, Esther? Exactly, that's part of Robert's Rules of Orders. Okay, so we need not only a motion to approve the agenda, we need a motion to approve the amended agenda with the tabling of both items, is that correct?
Mayor,
Choose the
council,
attorney.
I believe that if we have a motion to approve the agenda and then a motion to table items 2 and 3.
That's how we've always done it, exactly. Okay, and I believe that's the correct procedure. So we need a motion to approve the agenda with the 2 recommended tabled items. Do I have a motion?
I thought we were supposed to make 2 motions.
You are
2 motions, exactly. So
Separate
That's just one.
motion.
is that
That's
what
just
you're?
one motion.
Go ahead.
You have to vote
Mayor,
on both
council.
motions.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
I believe I
Separately.
stated a motion to approve the agenda and then a second motion to table those 2 items.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda.
And that's the first one.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
she's made the motion.
Oh, okay,
Any
second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
Councilor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Howell.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay, now I need a motion to table. Now, do we table at this point in time because we've done that in the past, or do we wait till we get to the actual business item?
Mayor, council, I would suggest that we do it at this time.
Exactly.
There are some people in the audience as well. that would want to be advised whether those items are on the agenda.
Thank you very much. We need a motion to table. Councillor Howell?
Madam Mayor, before I make the motion, a lot of the audience have come a long ways to come and speak to us.
Yeah, we're not removing them from public input.
Okay.
They will
that's-
continue.
all right,
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted to know.
Now I need a motion.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to table item 2 and 3.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, would you please read the items 2 and 3 into the record? Clerk?
Item number 2, conduct a public hearing and approval disapproval to adopt ordinance number 19-02, amendment to the official zoning map for a rezone of a property located at 2513 Hot Springs Boulevard, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Thank you.
Item number 3, conduct a public hearing and approval disapproval to adopt ordinance number 19-03, amendment to the official zoning map for a 21.277 acre parcel located north of Ridge Runner Road between 7th Street and 8th Street, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second, correct? Roll call.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Yulabri Jr. and a motion second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of March the 20th, 2019.
What is the pleasure of the governing body?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the minutes for March 20th, 2019. There were no errors.
Okay, thank you very much.
Second.
Second, roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is mayor's appointments and reports.
I will give a report of the Municipal League presentation that we had last week regarding the updates from Municipal League. I believe that you are going to give that report for me. Ms. Gagos.
Okay.
We discussed it. Okay.
There were several legislative issues that were taken up at the New Mexico Municipal League. It was held at the plaza and all members of the council were present, as well as the mayor. There was the outstanding legislation, I think, that we were all waiting for, was the minimum wage that'll be moving to a higher rate for all. It's a statewide legislation, and I think that was, I think, something that we all wanted to see passed. We also had legislative appropriations that were submitted and very well funded. City of Las Vegas was funded for $2.2 million. We're still waiting for road project dollars, as well as emergency fund dollars for some of our water lines that we had issues with this winter. And so we're still working with that. New Mexico Finance Authority did congratulate City of Las Vegas for their 2018 audit. And so that was a good thing to hear. It only helps us with our grants, our grant. Anytime we have an audit as outstanding as this one this year, we qualify for more grants. We qualify for so many other grants and loans that we may not have qualified for before. And I don't know, Mayor, if you have any other issues that we want to add on.
On the current audit for this year, I think that we probably should have received more coverage from Mr. Brooks over here. And this was something that out of, 35 statewide?
Yes,
Was
ma'am.
it 35? Counties and municipalities in the state, only 3 of them received an unmodified opinion with no findings, and the city of Las Vegas was one of them. That has never happened in the history of the city. That is huge, and I personally want to commend Tanavika for your incredible work, your strength and your fortitude to get through this. That was remarkable. You worked exceptionally well with every single director, and you need to be recognized for that, as well as your our leader, Anne Marie Gallegos, for all that she has done, and every single director who is here or not here this evening. You need to be recognized for that. So thank you very much, and that's huge accolades. So I'm hoping that the optic can hopefully cover that. Now, the other thing I'd like to discuss was the issue of the opting in and opting out. Could you cover a little, give a little more information on the opt-in, opt-out?
The opting in, if there was some discussion about opting in into the election process and into the November elections, we had the opportunity, municipalities had the opportunity to opt in. However, we were also informed that there may be some legal issues that come up from it, and they highly recommended, I believe that's the word that we should use, highly recommended that we wait to see what transpires. There is legislation that still needs to be written so that we can either opt in or opt out of the election of the November, and it's because mayor and councilors would either serve a shorter period or a longer period. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Madam Attorney? Is there anything else that you remember on that legislation? And we have not opted out of we haven't opted in on the November election.
Exactly.
And so at this point, we would still hold our regular election.
Yes, and I think that with that said, one of the concerns that we had, which was a concern that I raised on the opt-in, is that when every elected official is elected to the office, they have a 4-year term. That's consistent with the current city charter law. If we were to opt in, that would have shortened or extended, either way, the opt-in, opt-out process. So that would have essentially put us in a litigious or liable situation with regards to the contracts of each and every elected official. So I thought it was best at that point in time. Now, one of the other things that we not opt in that was a huge concern was that and I believe this is what she mentioned, but correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the big issues was that the Secretary of State would have to review or amend about 280 pages, I believe, of the election code. Is that correct? I believe that was stated. If anybody recalls, I recall. Anyway, that's pretty much what was going on. This is the mayor's report, please. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention is the fact that we're working, the community development and yourself have been working diligently to get a proclamation with the family of Cipriano Aguilar, Gallo Copeton, as they used to call him here. He did a lot for the community. And we have been working on that. I'm not certain if community development will be prepared this evening to present an actual recognition, but I'm hoping that we are moving forward in that direction. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is make or dedicate an actual plaque for Mr. Aguilar at the park where he was always at and emceeing for many, many years for the fiestas and other special events within the community. So I think that's it. Is there anything else in the mayor's report?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
That takes care of it.
Okay, thank you very much. Now,
The next
continue?
item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the mayor's recognitions and proclamations.
Okay, thank you very much, and I want to thank our interim clerk for doing such a great job. You have been really outstanding, and I'm very, very impressed with your work. Have faith in yourself and confidence. You're a good gal. Okay, first of all, on the number one, the National Lineman Appreciation Day, we were not able to get them here this evening. They're pretty busy, but I will have Danielle read their names into the record, and they will receive their recognition and certificates via mail, correct? Go ahead.
Although we weren't sure what their names were. I know there was
Okay.
two, but-
Okay.
So recognition for National Lineman Appreciation Day, whereas April 18th has been designated as National Lineman Appreciation Day. And whereas from the power plant, the grid crisscrossing country both above and underground, and right up to the meters on our homes, these men and women build and maintain the system that keeps our nation running. And whereas when Mother Nature destroys what our linemen have built up, they are on call to build it back up again and quickly as possible. And they work tirelessly to get emergency systems back in working order and urgently return service to remaining areas. And whereas our linemen work under dangerous conditions on a daily basis, whether they are working in trenches, near water, or on high towers, the risks are extreme. And now, therefore, be it resolved by I, Mayor Tonita Gurle Giron, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, along with members of the governing body, hereby recognize and appreciate the linemen for their dedication and for representing Las Vegas and the state of New Mexico.
Thank you very much. The next recognition is the Robertson High School Lady Cardinals. And before we get started with the names, I see all of you out there. I want to recognize each and every one of you for an outstanding job. I know that as young individuals, it's remarkable physically what you're capable of doing. And also, I need to recognize the parents for being there, the coaches, and all the incredible work and hard work that you put into making a team such outstanding, and to surface as a taller of the Pines at a state level is remarkable. And each and every one of you have such an amazing feat to go out there and actually not only win the title, but defend your title in the future. So I wish you all the best, stay healthy, and thank you parents, thank you coaches, and each and every one of you. And our clerk will go ahead and read the names at this point in time, and then I will call you up individually and give you a certificate, okay? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Recognition for the Robertson Lady Cardinals basketball team. Whereas the Robertson Lady Cardinals basketball team includes Caitlin Arguello, Jasmine Varela, Alianza Darley, Stella Garcia, Shayla Hillis, Jasmine Jaramillo, Jasmine Jenkins, Jaden Jenkins, Kaylin Marujo, Tessa Ortiz, Leanne Salazar, Trinity Sena, Gabby Trujillo, and Pasipa Benyu, Coach Kim Martinez, Coach Fran Jenkins, and Coach Jose Medina. And whereas for the first time in a long and often passionate history of high school hoops in Las Vegas, New Mexico, one of its teams finally hoisted a blue championship trophy. And whereas the Robertson Lady Cardinals is that team from Las Vegas to win the Class 3A blue championship trophy. And whereas the Robertson Lady Cardinals defeated the Santa Fe Indian Lady Braves 62-46 at the pit during the championship game. And now therefore be it resolved by I, Mayor Tonita Gurule Giron, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, along with members of the governing body, hereby recognize the Robertson Lady Cardinals basketball team for their dedication to the sport of basketball and for representing Las Vegas and the state of New Mexico.
Thank you very much.
Caitlin Arguello, Jasmine Varela, Alianza Darley, Stella Garcia, Shayla Hillis, Jasmine Jaramillo, Jasmine Jenkins, Jaden Jenkins, Kaylin Marujo, Tessa Ortiz, Leanne Salazar, Trinity Sena, Gabby Trujillo, and Pasipa Twinyu. And also for the coaches, Coach Kim Martinez, Coach Fran Jenkins, and Coach Jose Medina.
First of all, I want to call the coach up, and I want to have him say a few words.
Yes, I just want to thank the mayor and the city councilors. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. It means a lot to us. You know, it was one of those amazing seasons with a great group of young ladies. You know, it started off in the summer. We worked hard throughout the summer, the fall season, the off season, and the season. And we had a great run through the year. We finished the season with 29-2, and you know, we had a good 4-game run in the state tournament, and you know, we beat Cobre, then we beat West Las Vegas, then we beat Navajo Prep, then we beat Santa Fe Indian School in the championship. So, you know, it was an amazing season. A lot of thanks goes to my assistant coaches. Without them, you know, it's a tough job. You know what I mean? A lot of thanks goes to these young ladies. They're great young ladies. In the classroom, on the basketball court, in church, in the community, everywhere we go, they do a great job representing themselves, their family, our school, our community. So I'm very proud of them. And just want to thank our seniors for their leadership this year. Thank you for helping us set the foundation with our new era of Lady Cardinal basketball. And I just want to wish the seniors good luck in their future and their endeavors. And like I tell them before, we're going to miss you, but thank you for leading us. And the girls coming back, we got some work to do, and you know, it's going to be tough. You know, we got that target on our back now, and everybody's going to be coming after us. But we have a great group of girls with a good work ethic and a good attitude, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready when it comes next season. And I just want to say to all the girls and coaches, thank you very much, and I love you. We love you. It's been great. You know what I mean? And enjoy it. Enjoy it. So, I want to thank the community too. Thank you for all your support. You know, all the games that we played in the state tournament, we played a lot of the Native American schools, and they bring a lot of fans. But we had a lot of fans there too, and it was just a great atmosphere, a great scenario for our basketball program and our young ladies, and it's just nice to bring them home to Las Vegas, New Mexico. Thank you very much. Bring it in, bro.
I know you guys are good at selfies, so. Can you move this way? Counselor. Sorry, Counselor Yulavati. Or there, that's good, yeah. Now I lost you, Counselor. Hold on.
This way?
That, to your right, yeah. There you go.
Thank you all, ladies.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good job, we're really proud of you. Good job. So happy for you. Good job.
Should be proud of you. Thank you.
You were smart. Thank you. Good job. Thank you for representing Las Vegas so well.
You always were there.
Thank you so much. Good job, friends. There. That's it. That's it. I'm going to public input.
What happens after? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, gals and coaches, and what a great, outstanding situation. Wow. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is public input. We have Mr. Marshall Poole with the AWC report.
Mr. Poole. Good evening.
Madam Mayor, councilors,
Good evening.
this is a report for March. In March, we took in 149 animals. That's an average of nearly 5 per day. That included 111 dogs, 41 of which were puppies, 35 cats, 10 kittens. 106 of those dogs, of those 111 dogs, came in unidentified. Those same 106 dogs had no evidence of a rabies vaccination. That's 95%. No identification, no rabies vaccination. We were able to return 25 dogs to their owner guardians, and we adopted 21 animals locally. 69 dogs had to be transported out of Las Vegas to 7 different agencies in Colorado for adoption. There are just way too many dogs. That's 62% of the dogs that we took in had to be transported to be adopted. There were 3 bite holds this month, and there's only a bite hold if the animal has no evidence of a rabies vaccination. And some citizens complain, gee, why do we have to leave our animals there for 10 days? But it's state law that we have to observe them for 10 days to see if there's any onset of rabies symptoms. So we just urge all citizens to get their animals rabies vaccination. It's state law. And we can't even release an animal to someone unless they go to a veterinarian and prepay the rabies vaccination costs, so that when they get the animal back, they can take the animal in and have a rabies vaccination. 15 citizens took advantage of our $25 spay-neuter program. For that, every week we send animals to the Santa Fe Clinic for spay-neuter, $25. That covers transportation. The citizen brings the animal in first thing in the morning. They call in, make an appointment. First thing in the morning, they bring the animal in. We transport their pet to Santa Fe. It gets spayed or neutered. They come back that same day with any medications for painkillers and that sort of thing. They also get a rabies vaccination. They also get an embedded chip for identifying their animal, all for $25. So we urge citizens to take advantage of that, because there are a number of donors who supplement the cost, because the cost, of course, is far greater than $25. So also we urge citizens to, if they find a dog, and Mayor, I know you personally knew about this.
Yeah.
If you find a dog, don't say, gee, this is a cute dog, I think I'll keep it. The city ordinance says within 24 hours you need to report the presence of that dog to either the police or animal control, or bring it into the shelter, because somebody is probably missing that dog and wondering where their pet is and grieving over their pet. So if you find a dog, citizens should report it or bring it into the shelter, and if it's we'll try to get it back to its owner guardians. Again, that $25 spay-neuter program, citizens can call us. We'll set them up with an appointment. They bring in the dog. They get the dog back later that same day, all spayed and neutered, rabies vaccination done, all for $25. We're also members of the New Mexico Shelter Work Group, which is a group of shelters from around the state that meet and talk about common problems. And our shelter is hosting that group this month, next Tuesday. And so we'll be discussing common problems across shelters across the state, and also giving them a tour of our shelter and so on. So we're pleased to be able to host that group here in Las Vegas. Thank you.
Mr. Pilla, I want to
Yes.
thank you personally for all that you're doing with the shelter. It has turned full circle, and you're doing an outstanding job with the shelter. And I do want to personally thank you and publicly thank you for, again, returning my small little Frodo. He was gone for about a year and 10 days,
Yep.
and he showed up, and immediately they recognized him and called me, so we were very happy to have him back home.
Some passerby from I think California saw Frodo near the road and picked him up and Googled where's the shelter and came to the shelter, and of course we recognized him. So we're glad to have done that.
You're very compassionate, and thank you for showing that compassion to the entire community.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koo. The next person on the public input is Mr. Andy Trujillo on AWC as well.
Hello.
Hi, good
I didn't
evening.
know I'd
How
be
are you?
first. I just wrote AWC. I'm not sure if that's what I'm talking about here. It's the planning and zoning for the area between 7th and 8th Street and off of, I'm trying to read it here, off of Ridge Runner Road. It's 21 acres. And I don't live here right now, but I did live here for a long time, made lots of friends here, and we're moving back. So that's exciting for us.
For us
And,
too, thank you.
Thank you. One of the homes that we're looking at is on 8th Street. And so this kind of worried us, rezoning that to a C3 from an R1, single-family home. The things that worried us is with a C3, you can put almost any business in there. And so our biggest concern is traffic, noise, of course, and I'm curious as to why. My understanding is the entrance to that plot would be off of 8th Street, although that plot goes all the way to Grandis. Is that correct?
7th Street.
7th Street, yeah. It seems like 7th Street would be the busier, more business-oriented entrance, I would think. But anyway, my biggest concern is that we don't know what's going in there. And it was very hard to find any information on this. Apparently, there wasn't a lot of public awareness of it, so that concerned us. So in wanting to purchase this house, we have some reservations about it. And I think people should be more aware of it. I'm not sure why we're postponing it. Is there a particular reason why we did?
I believe that was discussed. Anne Marie, could you please notify them again?
We were unable to contact all the parties involved, and therefore, that is the
Okay, so
reason
that's
why
the
we
reason.
postponed it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a way to making sure that it gets back on the agenda?
It will be
As
at
soon
a later date. We're not sure of the date yet, but we will.
Do we have
and we'll
input into
publish it.
when or how soon or anything like that?
We will advertise it, am I correct, with the 15-day, the 15-day notice that needs to go out, and it'll be advertised in the Las
Okay.
Vegas Active.
And also had a question as to, do we know what the plans are to put in there? Do we know what's going to go in there right now? Does the bank said anything about what's going to be in that?
I think that'll be discussed in the
public input.
public input
Exactly.
and
Okay.
public hearing.
So at this
Yes,
point, we don't know.
At this
the
point,
public.
not today.
But
Okay.
hopefully by then we will, and
Okay.
hopefully that'll be evidentiary information that will be submitted into the record proper.
Okay, my also concern was, why are they doing it to C3 rather than just a commercial C1?
That's something that will be discussed in the future.
Okay. And will we have input to that as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I guess that's all I wanted to bring in. We're terribly excited about moving back to Las Vegas and that things are moving, but also we're very concerned that there wasn't enough knowledge about this and that
And we
we
will be addressing that.
want to make sure that we have input into what's going there. We don't want anything that's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of traffic. It is a housing area, all around it. And so I just wanted to come in before. It's hard for us to make a decision on this one particular home because of this. And so holding it out and taking a long time to have it more input into it, more knowledge about it is really, it's really difficult for us. So,
And it'll just give us an opportunity for us to provide further information for you at a later date.
okay. In that discussion, will it be discussed whether to change it to a C1 or a C?
Yes, during that public input process, we'll hopefully have more information.
Okay. That's all I had to say. Hello, everybody again. If I know you, if I don't know you yet, I will.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Mr. Trujillo. The next person on the public input is Ms. Cordia Samuth. Good evening, Ms. Samuth.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening, Ms. Emmett, how are you?
As you know, I am the co-manager with Karen Cotta Market, so I'm here to talk about the zoning change for the market. Tierra and Cotta has had 2 very successful years at the current site that we're on at Hot Springs. The amount of money spent at our farmers markets, I'm saying markets, in Las Vegas has doubled since the opening of our market. And I have that data if anyone would like to see it. This means we are attracting more new customers and more farmers, and this is a boost to the local economy and something I think that really adds to the community. And more people than ever are getting access to really healthy, fresh, local food with having the 2 markets. So it is our hope the council will pass the zoning change we need to stay at our present site that we're at. We appreciate that there are concerns about the location that need to be resolved over time. I recognize that. We have been given access to the land behind Comcast for safer parking, because that was one of the concerns that we've had too, is more parking for the area. However, it is my understanding that these issues and others can't be addressed by the city until the zoning issue is resolved. And they can move ahead and address and work out other concerns for the site. So it's a good site because of its visibility. And one of the things we really like is many of our customers who don't drive can walk to the market, and we have a lot of walk-in people that come that are able to get there to get their food. So please confirm the zoning change. I know you can't tonight now, and allow us to continue to move forward with the project. And we'll work in any way we can with the city to make it the most usable way it can be. This, I think, is a really positive movement for the community. And the other is the issue of the zoning change for the land between 7th and 8th. I would like to suggest a compromise, and I know this is just a suggestion, that where the property comes into 8th remain a residential area. I live close to that area, and I can just imagine the increase in traffic, and it's not, really appropriate to put commercial stuff right in the middle of a residential area. And this would have a serious impact on the area. And my suggestion would be to keep the commercial use of the land up toward 7th Avenue, which is already a commercial area. And possibly create an open area, which we really need up in where we are because there are no parks. And at least consider bringing the commercial business, not bringing the commercial business down into close to the 8th Street where all the homes are. So thank you for listening, and I know I'll be back to talk again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emmett.
Thank you, Ms. Emmett. Next, we have Kathleen Dudlow.
Dudley?
And she will be talking about the market and zoning.
Yes.
Good evening, Kathleen.
Good
Good to see you again.
Thank you, Council. I am a farmer and out in the Okate area, and I've been gone for about 5 years and had the opportunity to see what happens in communities around the country over the last number of years with their farmers markets, Pacific Northwest in particular. And they're always a huge tourist draw as well as local. But it's been really interesting to see how much of the local economy, how much of the local people, how many use the markets. And we see the degradation that's going on with our food supply. And so to be able to rely upon and know your farmers, and to be able to come to a farmer's market where you can actually buy quality food, and and in fact even go to those farmers' farms and see how they're producing it is a real benefit for the people. And I just don't think that there can be anything but a complete win for everybody, the local folks, the economy, and of course the health. And we're seeing tremendous illness that is happening as a result of the use of glyphosate and other toxic substances in the food crops. And with a lot of the farmers here are using their very old techniques, family traditions of how to raise their markets or their crops. So to be able to have quality food is really important. As a farmer, I am also looking for an outlet, and I've watched the markets here over the last 21 years, and to see now a doubling in the amount of produce and or at least the funds that are coming in as a result of the work by the farmers is really exciting. So I'd like to participate in this market, and I've seen the site. I think it's fabulous. It's been a site that's really been absent of use for a very long time. Its location seems perfect in terms of egress, and so I'm just putting a big green flag up and hoping that you'll promote that and pass it as the ongoing place for the market here. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next one is Mr. Joe Cooney on zoning community first bank.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Joe Cooney.
Joe Cooney?
Good evening, Mr. Cooney. How are you?
Hi, Madam Mayor and council members. First of all, thank you for your service to our community. I know it can't be an easy job to do what you do, so thank you. Yes, I'm here to speak about this proposed zoning change on that same 21-acre parcel of land. I live in that neighborhood, and I have lived there for the past 20 years. So I have a vested interest in what happens right there. Our neighborhood is purely residential. There is no commercial activity north of Mills Avenue. And this, if there would be something located like that on this parcel, it would be an intrusion into our neighborhood. The residents there are against it. I think you probably all have my petition that I circulated. 56 signatures. Universally, the people who live there don't want commercial activity right in our neighborhood. I didn't speak to anybody who was in favor of it. I went to the hearing for the zoning commission. 8 or 10 people got up to speak and were opposed to this change. The only ones who were in favor of it were the bank representative and their lawyer. So that tells you what the people want. Now, I don't have anything against the bank. They're an important part of our community, and they have been a good corporate citizen in our community for a long time. I actually got together with a couple of people in my neighborhood, and we went and had a meeting with Mr. Swanson, president of the bank, to talk about this issue. And it was a very helpful meeting. It gave me a better understanding of what the bank's viewpoint is. They made an unfortunate loan. They had to foreclose on that property. Now they're holding the property and they want to sell it. In fact, they're required to sell it. State statute says they can only hold it for a certain period of time. And so they're very anxious to get out from under it. They believe that by zoning it commercial will make it more marketable. I don't know if that's true or not, but it opens the door to something that's very unwelcome to the people who live there. So it's a big piece of land comparatively in town. You know, it's 20 acres in town. And yet they want to zone the entire thing commercial. It would make much more sense, as been suggested earlier, to divide the parcel in half, to make the part facing 7th Street commercial and keep the part facing 8th Street residential, or, you know, as was also suggested earlier, make it a park. I don't know if that's possible, but that would be wonderful if that could happen, because it's true. People actually use that land as a park now. People walk their dogs out there. They walk with their grandchildren out there. They mountain bike out there. You know, that's what the neighborhood actually uses the land for. There needs to be a solution for the bank. They have a problem. This isn't the solution. Not to bring commercial activity to our neighborhood. This isn't the solution. The solution that makes the most sense is to divide the property in half. Sell, and the bank is actually open to that possibility. They think right now by selling it all commercial, by making it all commercial, then they can leave it to the new buyer to decide.
3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person on the public input is Mr. Andrew Urioste on Dirt Track. Andrew, oh, there you go. Good evening.
Good evening. Here tonight to ask for a dirt track. I myself has a dirt bike. We race in Moriarty. My wife does, and there's a few others here that race also there on the side of I-40. There's a racetrack there. It's 2 hours over, 2 hours back. So if we're going to practice, the amount of time you get practice time, because they go by different classes, they start at 4 to 6 years old. From there, if you do the whole practice for the day, which is 9 to 11, you only get about an hour and 20 minutes. Here, we used to ride back behind Rodriguez Baseball Park, but as last summer that was kind of flattened out. So basically, with all the people here that actually have four-wheelers, dirt bikes, side-by-sides, go-karts, they're on the streets, but because there's no place to ride. But then at the same token, we're taking a lot of money to Moriarty instead of keeping it here in the community, which of course we want. If we had a place to ride, we would be getting the bikes and four-wheelers off the streets, of course, and we'd be playing more here than elsewhere. So, there's more than I thought. I've been asking the last week and a half, 2 weeks, just in a short amount of time, finding out that there's a lot of people in the public that actually have four-wheelers and dirt bikes, more than I thought actually existed. So a dirt track would be a good idea because we'd be keeping more money here in Vegas. Over in Moriarty, you see license plates from Texas, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona. So there's a big call for it. So another thing, it's good exercise, it's relaxing, and it's a good bit of entertainment. When we used to ride behind Rodriguez, you could tell when the baseball games were over because a lot of people would go up and over the hill and they'd sit and watch for quite a while. So that's another thing. But the biggest thing is getting them off the streets, and of course with the PD here, they can vouch for me there, here and there, you know. So, you know, but because there's not a place to ride. So, and then the other thing is area. What would be a location? But a show of hands, who do you know that has a four-wheeler dirt bike, or do you have one at all, you know? Just in this room, how many people do you know that has a four-wheeler dirt bike? Okay. How many of you ride the four-wheeler only for hunting? When you go hunting, that's about the only time they pull out the four-wheeler. And otherwise, it kind of sits in the garage until hunting season. But then, you know, I mean, it comes down to we need a place to play. If you build a park, kid won't be playing on the sidewalk at the edge of the street next to the cars. They're going to be in an enclosed area. You know? So, but that's what we're asking for, and there's quite a few of us here tonight. And this is just a small piece of the pie that actually have. If we were to actually have a day to come out and see, then you see the turnout that would actually be there, you know. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Otis.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. The next person is James Alreed on protest zoning recommendation. Mr. Alreed.
Good evening, Mr. Levy.
Good evening. I'm going to have to ask for a note from my employer since this is my third straight week that I've left work early up at the Guadalupe County Correctional Facility. And they might not believe me if I say I'm going back again in a couple of weeks.
Okay, well,
Again, as
I'll
Mr. Cooney,
advise the
as
city manager.
as Mr. Cooney mentioned, again, I do thank, my wife and I thank you for your service. And my name is James Alarid, and my wife is Marlene Alarid. And we live at 2811 8th Street, and we have approximately 300 feet, a 300-foot fence on 8th Street. And so, you know, obviously, we are protesting the recommendation for a R1, RR to a C3. And I think that in this process, the only cogent argument that the bank made when they were presenting, along with their attorney, Gene Mathis, was to save the bank and help them unload a foreclosure. I think that's the only argument that they had. They did try to sprinkle something with that foreclosure, or for the saving of the foreclosure, and that is that they would reserve 1 acre for a park. That sounds terrific, but when you look at the percentage, that's only 4% of that 22 acres, you know. And I'm not sure if it would really serve the need of a park, but they wanted to sweeten the deal with that. As Ms. Samuth mentioned, as Mr. Cooney mentioned, my wife and I do not have an issue if the eastern side of the property or the Ridge Runner property or 7th Street property side is commercial. But certainly we have to look at the residential aspect of it, because you have a lot of people that have lived around there for a number of years. My wife and I have lived there since 1993. If my calculations are right, that's almost 26 years. We put in a lot of money into our house. And certainly all the people around there pay property taxes, and they work very hard in order to be able to maintain their housing. I think it's important for us to look at the streets that are around there. There's Kane, there's Sperry, there's Highlands Drive, and obviously the 8th Street property between Sperry and Williams Drive. There's Williams Drive. We have Melinda Lane, we have Sugar Lane. All those are properties, and we all bought that property because we knew that the 22 acres was zoned R1. And it was going to be residential. Some action did occur a couple of years ago where they were going to attempt their building some houses adjacent to the back end of Sperry.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so what we would like, sir, is, or ma'am, is that maybe the city should buy the property. We've been talking a little bit about sports complex, ball fields, soccer fields, water park, dirt park, animal walking path, and maybe a good idea is you're going to memorialize the guy Capitan, Mr. Aguilar. We could even name it after him. But certainly, I would hope that you would all remember everybody that is protesting this and not approve the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is persons are Steve and Manuel Montano on the RFP for gasoline fleet repairs. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and council. Yeah, I just had some requests and about the RFP for the gasoline fleet for this PD and the local the vehicles that are driven around town, gasoline and diesel. I just want to tell you a few of our qualifications over there. We've been in town probably 20 years as a local business, and a lot of people do know us, and we have a lot of customer base in the surrounding area. We'd like to get the RFP business. We're reaching for a few of our qualifications over here. We're with the gasoline fleet, we're with the VVT, variable valve timing, GDI, gas direct injection, hybrid, we work on Priuses, we work on diesels, and I am a master certified technician and constantly getting upgraded and getting my certificates. And as far as my brother, he's keeping up on his certificates also, and our employees are required to go to 5 seminars a year to keep up to date with the new vehicles and the GDI and VVT, because the vehicles nowadays, it's not just a transmission, it's not just an engine, that is a system. I mean, that's the way the vehicles are made nowadays. Everything's integrated, and you have to have special equipment to read that. And I just spent another $1,300 upgrading my software for my equipment. We do have ALLDATA, that's a business software, and I also have the Mitchell On Demand, that's another business software, so we can have two sources of information to fix these cars to OEM specifications. Now, my certifications and my master certifications are engine repair, automatic transmissions and transaxles, manual drivetrains and axles, brakes, ABS systems, that's automatic braking systems, electrical, all the electrical systems, and heating and air conditioning, engine performance, maintenance. Then we do maintenance, full maintenance to the cars, all the way from tires to oil changes. We do a 40-point inspection for our customers, and they really enjoy it because that is part of our preventative maintenance program we've been providing for the last 15 years here, not just transmissions anymore, because we just had to evolve with the community, because the transmissions are lasting longer, so we expanded our services. And we are a AAA repair facility, approved repair facility. We work very hard at maintaining that and keeping that. It's very hard to get, and they don't just give that certification to anybody. I have ETI graduates working for me, ASC certified people working for me, and also we're A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We send our, like I said, we send our guys to 5 seminars per year. I got 35 certifications myself. In-house, we got like over 100 certifications that we've been sending the last 15 years. And that being said, qualifications that we do have, I think we meet and probably exceed some of the qualifications that the city requires us to have. So we do got a secure facility to put the vehicles in if we have to keep them overnight. And just have some concerns because of the way the RFP has been written, the proposal. Now I know it used to be annually, and now it's 1 to 4 years. So I talked to Marla over there at the PD.
3 minutes.
3 minutes already?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, and I just wanted to see if we can standardize some protocols, and as far as getting information out to all the businesses, the gasoline fleet businesses that can actually do this kind of work, and just see if we can get some kind of communication between the city and all the businesses in town. And we are on the city limits. We do pay our taxes over here, and we do have a big following, a big customer base, and I would appreciate if you consider that or find a better way to do standardize the protocol so we can get informed when there is changes. The only one more thing to say, I know that it was sent out on December 18th, that's 2 days before the Christmas vacation, so I wasn't aware of, the RFP was available again. So if it can be, just informed, that's what I'd ask.
I believe, Mr. Steve, that it was publicized.
Yes.
Am I correct?
It was.
It was. It seems like, well, the way it used to be, it was in February, so I could expect it, go put my packet together, and then turn it in, and then they go open the proposals. That's the way it was, just kind of normalized it, so that way it's not in different parts of the year. It would be nice to have it that way. Do you have any questions for me? I'm here.
No, I'm not going to open it up for discussion.
Okay.
That's something we have to vote on.
I appreciate you giving me the time to speak.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Montano. The next person is Jay Curtis from 200 Washington Street. No? Okay. The next person is Kathy Mays, Market Zoning.
From 200 Washington?
Yes. Is that? Nope.
Okay, continue.
200 Washington Street, it might be you.
Who's next?
Must be Mr. Aragón, 200 Washington Street? Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, councilors.
Good evening, Mr.
I came to sound the alarm. We have all heard the sound of the immigrants. We're going to get even more, and this is worldwide. I'm not talking about the wall down there. Because of the farming, the farming land throughout the world is getting diminished and diminished and diminished. Call it global warming or whatever you want. Some people don't believe in it, even though it's affecting us. So I'm here to support two great ladies, and that's Diane and Cordia. They have been doing the job over there for 2 years at the farmers market, Tierras Encantadas Farmers Market. And not only are they bringing, it's a cultural event, it's a social event, and it's a healthy event. The fruits and vegetables that they're putting out over there, and even some remedios, if you can, are a godsend to the community, along with a business that is in Old Town. We need to get a few more in there. So this one helped. And it's a social event because we bring even the kids together. They were real proud to come and sell their produce. West has a little garden there. And they came over and sold their produce at the Tierras Encantadas. So if we can do something about that zoning thing, I think it's for all our benefit. And it's bringing more and more, like I say, a social event. It's like in the old days when the people would go to the market and you meet your neighbors and not only your neighbors, but from out of town. Last year we did a raffle, or Tierras Encantadas did, and we started putting the addresses on the raffle tickets. There were 50 plus people that were from out of town in that just one day event. So those come in, they go to the restaurants, they stay at the motels. So it's an economic development. But the big thing is, if we don't start taking care of our farmers like they're taking care of us, and you talk to these people over at the farmers market and they're such a humble attitude about what they're doing. And I think they're saving our lives, really, because the food is healthy, but they're managing the land to where it doesn't become so, like Africa right now is getting it's a crisis. People cannot plant because it's becoming sand and it's just not even arable land anymore. So we've got to take a step, and I think this is a big one that we can do here to mitigate this crisis that is growing and growing and growing. And like I say, we're going to get a bigger crisis in immigrants. It's not their fault. Some of it is Monsanto and our big corporations that are doing all this damage to our land. And it's not recoverable. Let's support our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Aragon. The next person is Ms. Kathy Mays, Market Zoning.
Jesus Ortiz is going to come up also.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening. How are you, both of you?
Hello. We're here in support of the market. Hello.
We're actually farmers for the market.
So we've been farming about 5 years, and
So we're fairly new.
we've been with Cordia and Diane for, there's a chair, for probably about 3-4 years, and they're awesome. They take care of the market great, but the market on Hot Springs, it does give access to a lot of, like Cordia was saying, people without vehicles, and it also is a learning experience for them because a lot of people don't really know about growing and how things are done or what that was, or you know what I mean? So,
And a lot of kids, like he was just saying, the kids really like to come up and ask us a lot of questions. They're learning themselves. And another thing I like is the tradition, we're going to try to keep this tradition going. Us, we're new at it, and we're kind of, trying to go back towards that tradition. And those kids are the ones that are going to keep it going, actually, after us. So.
Yes.
And then, of course, we love to eat well, and we just want to share that with everyone else. So, pretty much, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The next person is Mr. Billy Rogers on zoning. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, Mr. Rogers. How are you?
Madam Mayor, and members of the council. This might be old hat to you because I appeared before you last week at your workshop, but I feel there's an importance to point out some things to you. And this is in regards to the zoning change from the R1 to a C3 commercial zone. I have property at 753 Williams Drive. Behind my property is a zone change request. Perhaps I am opposed to this request. Perhaps a little history of the Rogers family went through with zone changes, for those of you that didn't hear me last week. In 1972, the Rogers family worked with a developer on property located at 7th Street and Mills Avenue. We appeared before the zoning committee and the city council. At the time, we presented to the city a plan for a Piggly Wiggly and a TJ&Y store. The plan was approved mainly because we had a well-developed plan, and the citizens had the opportunity to voice their opinions, as well as the city council and the mayor at that time. We were successful and implemented the developed plan. As you can see now, it was this development that spurred the commercial growth of Las Vegas, north on 7th Street. In 1983, the Rogers family worked with the developer and presented to the city council and also to the mayor for a development of a Walgreens and Blockbuster Video. It was unanimously approved and the plan was progressed. As you can now see, Taco Bell, Wendy's, Little Caesars, Pizza Hut, K-Bob's, Franken Tire, Lotta Burger, Allsup's, Magistrate Court, Murphy's, Walmart, Hacienda Home Center, Enchanted Hills, Highlands Wrecker, Fort Union Drive-In, Tractor Supply, just to name a few of the establishments that those businesses came in because of the zone changes and the business plans that were presented. I can now say that the center of Las Vegas is at Mills Avenue and 7th Street rather than Douglas Avenue. My point is this. You have been presented with a proposal for a zone change from a residential to a commercial zone. To the best of my knowledge, this was presented to you by the Community First Bank on property that they had foreclosed on. There is no site or development plan for the 21 or so lots that are included in the proposal for the sake of me. I don't think that this is a prudent idea because the residents of the area have no idea what's going to be built on the property. Once it's approved, we have no say-so. It could be a massage parlor, a liquor store, a lounge, whatever. In my experience dealing with banks in the area and experiencing foreclosure myself, banks aren't loaning money to consumers. Contractors are not being financed. And with the economy the way it is with us here in Las Vegas, the property will just sit there. Look around and you'll see for yourselves. I recognize that 7th Street commercial development should continue and concede areas bordering 7th Street and Williams Drive. My point is this: unless we are presented with a site and development plan, I would be opposed to the change.
3 minutes.
Right now, we have no idea what's being proposed for the area. If you look at 8th Street, it's all residential neighborhoods. People have invested in nice homes, and we enjoy the quietness of the neighborhood with nice homes. We hope to keep it that way. It's like putting the cart before the horse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. The next person is Mr. Jose Maestas on Farmers Market.
Good evening, Mr. Maestas. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening. Madam Mayor and City Council, and of course all city officials. I recently heard that there was going to be a zone change in the farmers market, but there had to be a zone change. I would like this council to let it be known that I am in favor of whatever needs to be done to continue the farmers market. I think it's very beneficial to our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Maestas.
Mr. Maestas. Ms. Rose Salazar.
Good evening. How are you?
My name is Rosa Salazar, and I'm in favor of the farmers market. We have been actually very successful being there. Our customers are very happy, and especially the ones on the west side. We have, like Mr. Aragon said, it's like a social event. Customers go there. They're happy to be there every time we set up. And we exchange, ideas. We often give people recipes or any information that they would like to know about a lot of the vegetables and things that we sell. So I wish and hope that you can support it. Okay? Thank you.
Ms. Salazar.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar. The next person is Mr. Marcos Herrera on Dirt Track. Mr. Herrera?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herrera.
Good evening.
I just, I'm kind of shy, sorry. There's 2 public tracks in Española and Santa Fe that we utilize a lot, and it's not just me, but my family actually all rides with me, my kids and my girlfriend. You know, it's a family thing that we do because, that's what we do. We've been doing it for a long time, and I think it'd really be beneficial for the city to have something like that for us, to try to help get them off the street and in a controlled environment. I just think it's a really good idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. The next person is Mr. Pat Romero on zone change on 8th Street.
I must be the last one in line, I guess.
Good evening,
I forgot
Mr.
why I
Romero.
came.
How are you?
It's a zone change.
I have at least 2 houses right adjacent to the property that you're going to change from R1 to C3. And normally in the past, I have always received a letter, usually registered from the city, saying that there's a zone change proposed for property which is 100 feet or so from your property. And this time I didn't receive anything. Luckily, my wife happened to be reading the Optic and saw a letter from a neighbor. And so I read the letter, and I still couldn't tell for sure what it was, other than the bank was the one that was requesting the change.
And so I started looking into it, and I told my wife, let's go to the property. There's got to be a sign someplace. And there was a nice sign about that big on the middle of that block, and it's a fairly good-sized piece of property. So I got to read the request for change. And but at the same time, I would like to be notified if there is a change. Otherwise, I would have gone to the zoning meeting, which I hear now that I guess they didn't have the zoning meeting and this request came to you already, which is kind of interesting. But one of the members told me that they never saw that request come through the committee. Or maybe they didn't invite that member to the meeting. Who knows? Anyway, the thing that bothered me was the fact that we weren't notified that there was going to be a change. And that's all. I request that you maybe look into that. Is that normal procedure to do that?
I believe that they've already addressed the procedure, and that is why it has been postponed or tabled to a further date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you
very much, Mr.
Thank you for tabling it.
The next person is Ms. Clara Lucero.
Good evening, Ms. Lucero.
Good
How are
evening,
you?
Mayor, Council. I'm here to speak in favor of keeping the Tierra Encantada Farmers Market in its present location. People around there actually don't have access to walk to go get fresh vegetables and that kind of stuff. And they've all liked the fact that it's there. It's easy for them to get to. We don't have any place else over there on the west side to really go get our vegetables, and we have fresh vegetables, organic vegetables over there where they're not all full of pesticides and whatever else. And people walk in there, and I've never heard any residents in that area ever complain about us being there. They all like it, and I like it. I live in that area, and I take my little grandson, and he loves this farmer's market, and I used to have him for a few days a week, and I like to feed him organic cucumbers, carrots, and whatever else the farmers bring to sell there. So I'm all in favor of keeping the farmers market there, and I hope that you guys agree that it should stay there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero. The next person is Corina Laszlo Henry on public hearing, regarding the public hearing.
Good evening, Corina.
Mayor, city councilors.
Good evening.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to address you, even though you basically got rid of half of what I was going to talk about right at the beginning of this hearing, and I think that was a really good decision to make sure that the public has, that you have as much input from the public as is possible. Mr. Rogers then kind of said what I was, the other half of what I was going to say even better than I could. But I have a few comments, a few questions. They aren't necessarily rhetorical questions. They're questions that I don't know the answers to, and I think that they should be of interest maybe to all of us. Again, I think tabling tonight's 2 agenda items for public hearing was a great idea. I'm a little rusty on Robert's rules. I think that means it happens at the next meeting. But so that's one question that I have. And another question that I have is, I know that the phone tree approach of notice was obviously very effective, and a lot of people showed up here. And I don't know if it's possible that the governing body rules of procedure, resolution 02-17, section 3.4 would allow you all to move the video of this evening's public input into evidence if and when those 2 agenda items come back. I don't know, that's an interesting question to me, because there are people who maybe were able to make it tonight and aren't going to be able to make it at some other time. And I don't know if there's any need for things to be sworn or whatever. So I really want to urge you to think about the whole putting the planning back in planning and zoning. A year ago I came and I expressed my concern that if the city didn't follow the rules with regard to its own application and its own property, that it might be more difficult to enforce those rules on other applicants and property owners. And then their rights become vested with whatever new zoning is allowed on that property. And I think the mechanism, as brought up by Mr. Rogers, for protecting the public and giving you all the information that you require in order to know that a zone change and proposed development are going to conform with the zoning code regulations is the site development plan. And so jurisdictions that do not require that seem to be in a very, very, very small minority. Las Vegas, the way I read our ordinances, do require a site development plan. 450-13 new construction and new uses says all new construction, buildings, improvements, alterations, enlargements, or building movement undertaken after the effective date of this chapter, and all new uses or occupancy of premises within the city shall conform to the requirements, character, and conditions as to use, height, area, and yard requirements for those various zones.
3 minutes.
And
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is Mr. Ben Romero on water situation.
Hello.
Mr. Lee,
For
how
the
are you?
opportunity to present my concerns. What's happening is I'm a tenant who's living over there on Grand Avenue, and like my landlord is the one that he pays the water bill and all that, and all of a sudden he got jacked with a huge water bill, and I'm thinking maybe there was a huge leak on the property or something, but he hasn't been able to find any, according to him. And if there is a leak and he's not telling me or the other tenants, shame on him. But if there is no leak, and then all of a sudden he's been hit with a big water bill, all of a sudden he has shut off the water for a couple of days now, and supposedly he's waiting for somebody from the city to go inspect the situation to see what the heck is going on. But I'm just wondering what could be done in this situation. It's kind of inconvenient for me and the fellow tenants.
Thank you for coming here today. I will, first of all, our city manager will direct that question to our utility director, and she will follow up.
Awesome. Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. The last person we have is Mr. Lalo Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, everyone. Apparently, I struck a nerve last month on the utilities department, but I'm not here to talk about that tonight. Tonight, I would like to talk more or less or address the fees that are being charged on the vendors for the 4th of July and for the bikers rally. I think that the fees that you all are charging are very, very high. I've talked to quite a few of the vendors, and some of them are just barely making, excuse me, barely making it, barely making ends meet, and others are for the tax deduction, and others aren't even coming back. They say that it's too expensive, and I know that some of the vendors haven't to come back. So we've lost quite a few vendors on account of the prices that you all are charging for the spaces, and I think it's really outrageous. And if you would all bring your prices down, I think we would have more vendors, and it would be more profitable for the community, I think, because you would have more renters for the spaces, and it would fill out the whole, not only around the plaza, but down Bridge Street. Last year, I believe there was only like 4 or 5 vendors on Bridge Street, and we're losing them. So if you all would bring your prices down on your spaces, it would really help not only the vendors to come back to the fiestas, but it would also help the community financially. And a lot of the vendors say, well, we're just barely breaking even. And I said, well, why do you come back then? And they said, well, we like the fiestas, we like the music, we like the entertainment, we like the whole thing about the fiestas. And the fiestas is celebrating our independence and our freedom. It's not about making money or getting rich by somebody else. And I wish that you all would really consider on bringing your prices down so that we can get more vendors for the community as far as that goes. The other thing I would like to talk about is parking for motorcyclists, enthusiasts. There's no special parking places for bikers on account that, I don't know why, there's a lot of spaces that are available right next to the Plaza Hotel on Hot Springs Boulevard that's always blocked. So that little section right there could be made parking, private parking for motorcyclists only. And right next to the police department, there's all between on South Pacific next to, I think it's not Romero Street, Moreno Street, right there. There's another place that's also blocked and it's not used, so that could be for motorcycle parking. And another place is just before you get to, on Bridge Street, before you get to Popular Dry Goods, to the end of the street, that's also blocked. And since there's not that many vendors, you can just block a section just for motorcycles. There's a lot of motorcycles that have to park wherever they can find. When they go back, they find their motorcycles either damaged, bumped into because somebody tries to squeeze in between the motorcycle and the other car that's in front or in behind them, and they end up hitting the bike and they knock it over or they damage it one way or another.
3 minutes.
That's not right. That's not right. I don't think we should have to park totally somewhere else in between cars and get damaged and not be able to be compensated for it or find out who did it or anything like that. So it would be nice if you all would reconsider and think about it and make those spaces private for motorcycles.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Well,
Good day. That concludes our public input for the evening. The next item is presentations, and I don't believe there is any presentations. The next item is city managers' reports. I have a couple of issues, a couple of things that I did want to apprise the mayor and council about. We are going to be closed on Friday, April the 19th in the afternoon for Good Friday and in honor of Good Friday. Also, we are going to start planning our ICIP plan for the year. We'll be attending training in May, and so if we have any ideas or any different projects that we want to look at, if you will get a hold of the city manager's office, then we will move that and see just how we can develop your ideas that we have on the ICIP. The ICIP plan, I believe, is due in September, but it's never too soon to start planning for it. I do have a couple of other issues. We have Ms. Maria Gilberry speaking about Bradner Dam. Ms. Gilberry?
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, Madam Manager.
Good evening.
I know I'd already reported in the past, Bradner is done. The spillway's done, the tower is done. What we're currently working on is vegetation removal. State engineer is requiring us to remove some trees and some vegetation before we can fill it. We also have been working with the state engineer's office to make a modification to the required amount of piezometer testing that I had mentioned to the council at the last meeting. And they seem to be very conducive to assisting the city with making sure that it is something that fits within our staffing and our availability and our capabilities. So we're still coordinating, we're still working with the state engineer on that. I am working with the city manager's office so that we can do our dedication as soon as the weather is not wet, not snowy, and not cold. Hopefully soon we can do the official dedication. And the contractors are still wanting to participate, even though they've moved on to another project. They're looking forward to that. So Bradner is, for all intents and purposes, done. Now it's just about getting to the point where we can fill the reservoir. So that's.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Ms.
Mr.
Gilberry, you've done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next person I have Chief Bibb. Last week he attended FEMA training, and so I did ask him if he would come in and speak to the training that he received and some of the things that he may be planning to do in the near future. Chief Bibb.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Madam Mayor, honorable councilors, I had the tremendous opportunity to attend training at New Mexico Tech in Socorro. They actually are the host for FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management, and their program is designed around training with an emphasis in explosives. My class was preparation for and responding to a suicide bombing incident. My motivation behind this training is the high visibility events that we have coming up, i.e. the motorcycle rally and the fiestas. And I can say that the police department's response to these events are intelligence driven. They are based on what we have learned from previous events. There is intelligence of an up and coming motorcycle gang known as the Mongols, and this motorcycle gang reportedly from intelligence is looking to gain territory, if you will, and they're pretty mean people, if I may. Secondly, the history has shown us with San Bernardino, Orlando, Las Vegas, there was no intel prior to these events. Orlando and San Bernardino were both motivated by ISIS, and history has shown that these terrorists have been attracted to high visibility events with dense population bases. So the training was absolutely phenomenal. I presented at the directors meeting yesterday that this training is not law enforcement specific, and I encouraged each department to send people from their departments to be force multipliers, if you will. More eyes and ears that are trained to know what an IED looks like, or even what a possible terrorist could look like. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Does anyone have any questions?
Just a comment. Last year, we attended a FEMA training here in at Highlands, and it was excellent. And it was Councilor Howell, city manager, myself, the police chief, and several other law enforcement agencies were there. And so I think it's an excellent idea, and I'm glad that you had an opportunity to attend. We are supposed to have another one, they told us this year.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I would like to go to that, whenever it does happen, because it was very informative and very helpful, so that if we do have any kind of an emergency at a large event like Fiestas or the bike rally or anything else that might be happening here in Las Vegas, we all know what our roles are, our specific roles are, and we don't get in each other's way. We know when to step back, what to do, and how to best help. So.
Thank you.
And if I could punctuate that with, the training was absolutely free.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The next person is Ms. Virginia Marujo, and I know that we wanted to do a lodger's tax update. I know we had a couple of questions on the lodger's tax. They have been meeting, and I don't think they're quite done, am I correct? But we're moving towards the direction of allocating funds, and so she has a short presentation on it.
Good evening, Ms. Marujo. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor Catherine. So we did have a lodger's tax meeting on April 2nd.
And I know a lot of what's going around is the allocations. And so during that meeting, Lodgers Tax was able to give their recommended approvals on some of the events for the year. And I'm just going to run through them real quick. If you have questions, absolutely I'll answer them. So out of event, there'll be Salute to Troops, Fireman's Ball, which we're excited to work with Chief on. There'll be the Las Vegas Film Festival, which was developed out of the film board that we had originally started. There'll be the Fiber Thread, which is the fiber crawl that's going to be throughout the state. The People's Fair, and that's the events. And then, of course, our advertising in the Visitor's Guide. We have a new partnership which we're excited about, and it's with the Journal, the Albuquerque Journal. So we'll be working closely with them on several items. And as far as infrastructure, Mr. Bob Mischler just purchased the Gordon's clock that was on Douglas. And so he's working with not only the city, but parts of the Community Foundation, and other groups to see how we can get that restored and put back as a historical piece into our city. And then, of course, the last one is the FY20 grant through the New Mexico CHU, which we will be bringing to council because we want to increase the matching funds with them so that we can add some other additional things like video and some items that we hadn't used in the past with them before. They got an increase in their budget, and so we kind of want to increase our budget with them as well. But of course, I'll go into more detail when we get to that point, but I just wanted to let you know that. And we will be having a special meeting in May so that we could address the rest of the events that are coming up so that they can do their presentations. And we'll be putting a notice out on that as well once we find out the meeting date, so that everyone can contact me and get on the agenda, and we can make those allocations for the year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilor Casey, have a
quick question. All of these events sound really exciting, and I'm happy that we're doing them. So has the Lodgers Tax Board made a decision on the amounts of money that will be going to that, and will they be coming before the council to have them approved?
Yeah, so the council had approved the budget at the beginning of the fiscal year, and I believe it was like a $60,000 that the Lodgers Tax had requested to go just specifically towards nonprofits and marketing and such and the events. And so that's what this will be worked into, is that. But I do have, and I'll leave it with them to give to you, I do have a breakdown of what was approved and the amounts of their, again, it's their recommendations as they are.
Perfect. Could you go ahead and have the clerk make a copy of that and then disseminate that to the council, please? Oh, that's all it? Thank you very much.
And that will be part of your, the budget that's presented to mayor and council under the Lodgers Tax.
Yeah, so when they're working on because Lodgers Tax has also increased, so what they're doing is they're working, and we learned a lot about how these allocations worked this last year. So of course they're going to be moving some monies around, and then when we get the budget here, we'll come back and we'll present for the new fiscal year.
I have a question. What about the, and maybe I'm missing it here somewhere, the mariachi event that they have here with Martin and Sena?
Oh, that was on the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I know it was reported, but I didn't see it here.
And I can get you a copy of if you want, I could get you a copy of all the ones that were
That would be perfect. Why don't you do that? Provide a copy to the entire governing body.
Yeah, because these are just the ones from the last meeting now in April.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so this doesn't include any previous expenditures.
But she's going to go ahead and provide everything.
Yeah, I'll provide you with a copy of those entire year.
Thank you very much.
The other, I'm sorry.
I had one question. I know we weren't ready, but the concern, one of them I had because I wanted to review, the minutes of that meeting, but they weren't available at the time. But I just want to, make this clear is that state statute, you only have 10 days from the date of the meeting to have those minutes available to the public, so keep that in mind. The other thing I had was the meeting that was held on the 2nd. Was that advertised?
It's a regular meeting. So the regular meetings are advertised at the beginning of the year, and it lets them know that every 3 months, which is usually January, April, July, December.
And those are actually approved
But
through resolution by the council,
exactly.
correct? That's
So the
what's
only time we advertise them is when we hold a special meeting. So now the special meeting coming up, we will advertise that. And actually, I'm going to do extra advertising for that, just because we want to make sure that all the groups that are interested in that money can have an opportunity to come in and apply for it.
And then the other question, and it's hard to verify if it was or was not online, because I think in the resolution it does call for that, but in my experience, just if you could date stamp, when you put it online. I know there's that option where you could put, what day, just so when people go back, they're able to see when it was actually posted.
Yeah, I can talk to IT about doing that. I can also put it on.
And that
on there.
goes to all minutes, in every.
The key thing is make certain it's consistent with policy.
Yeah. No problem.
And can you also speak a little bit about the event on April the 24th? It's a film training, a short film training for our vendors, businesses that we are going to be holding with Mr. Don Gray's representative, state representative.
Yes. So last year we went to a film summit, and during that film summit, they did a really great presentation on how the communities, the cities can take advantage of film productions when they come in. And not only that, but how we can grow film in our community, which we've been working on lately, not just is production-wise, economic development-wise, education-wise. I mean, every film tourism, every aspect that we can take advantage of. Well, the beginning of a lot of that and the base of it is getting our businesses in there, because they use the businesses for film sets. I know that they even hired Leo's Glass not too long ago to help them do some work. We want to continue that, and so they did that great presentation on how businesses work with film. And so on the 24th, because we've had a lot of production in the community lately, we're having Mr. Don Gray from the New Mexico Film Office come down. He's going to be on the radio at 1 p.m. with us at KNMX. Following that, he's going to come into the chambers and do that presentation, and we've sent out letters and invitations to everybody that owns a business within the city, so that they can have an opportunity to come and listen to that presentation and ask any questions to the State Film Office if they want.
Okay, Councillor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Ms. Gallegos. Mr. Marujo, good evening. Explain to me how the lodgers tax vote. Do they have to vote when they have a quorum, right? Okay, so on that meeting, did they have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, was a vote on each one, was there?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't an online vote?
No, this meeting here, so a few months ago, we did have a problem with them being able to meet at proper times. We were having special meetings pretty much every month to try to get through things. Well, a few of them decided that when they get into a situation, because they're business owners and such, and sometimes we run into a situation where the events are coming up and they need that vote, so they decided on if it's just say 1 or 2 items or 3 items, they can make that vote electronically. Mm-hmm. And so that's what they did with the last one, because at the last meeting in January, we did not have a quorum. And we had Mariachi Carnad that was holding that mariachi event the city manager was talking about, yeah. And so they did do one for that. It was for 3 items on there. But these ones particularly, now that we have a complete and full board, we had a quorum and it was completely voted on.
Okay, so on the one that you
We've only
did,
had one electronic vote.
on the electronic vote, did you have a quorum?
Yes,
Okay, so all responded, everyone responded.
everyone responded.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, just, okay, that's sort of concerning, if it's electronic, it has to be in your bylaws.
Actually, if it's electronic and there's any question, then you go to state statute. And if you recall, I actually gave the council a memorandum about electronic communication and electronic communication participation with regards to meetings. So that would work. Oh.
Was I here?
I'm not certain if you were or were not, but I'm certain that we can provide you a copy of that memo and the statute, so you're familiar with that as well.
The way I recall it is you have to adopt them in your bylaws. That's the way I was.
No, we look to state
If you can
statute,
look into
and
that.
I'll have Anne-Marie, could you please provide him a copy of that memorandum that was given to the council?
Yes.
At the time, and also provide a copy of that memorandum, which is consistent with the state statute law, to our attorney as well. She's fully priced for future meetings.
Okay, I'll do that.
Can you,
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm just, can you list the members on the Lodges Board, please?
Yeah, so right now we do have a full board. Our at-large is Emilio Aragon from the community. Then we have our current chair, which of course they just got their officers, is Krutek Bakta. Lisa Size is the vice president. We have Alan Alfeld. And our latest one that just joined us this last meeting is Abe Garcia, Abraham Garcia.
Abe.
We have a really good board now.
Good.
I'm excited about it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Oh, and for future reference, let me state on the record, I believe that you were an elected official at the time during the reorganization when you were presented the memorandum, so you should have it. But Esther needs to have that memo.
I'll locate it and I will forward it over.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Let's continue.
The last person I have is Ms. Tana Vega, and she is briefly going to speak about our budgeting process and where we're at, where we're going. And so it just a short, brief presentation to let you know we are working on the document.
Good evening, Ms. Vega. How are you?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So I've been like a busy bee, and I pretty much working on the budget. There was a holdup, a kind of a delay, waiting for to see if the governor would sign certain bills. One of them being the minimum wage that was signed. Another is an increase in para contributions, which will only affect the employer. Employees will not be seeing any increase. I also waited to see if the health premiums were going to be increased. Last week at the Municipal League, we were told that there would be no increases in health benefits. However, yesterday we did receive an email from self-insurers, and we will be seeing a 5% increase in premiums, which the city pays 75% of the premiums, and the employees pick up 25%, which translates to an increase of 1.25% for the employees and 3.75% for the employer. And pretty much the majority of the budgets have been prepared. I am currently meeting with departments and making any changes they are requesting. Some of the grants end at June 30th. If we don't have an award letter in place, we are not able to budget that grant until an award letter is received.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for your due diligence to the city. You are an amazing woman, Tana. Every question that I have, you always answer. And I'm always concerned and worried, of course, that we are not going to beat certain deadlines, or we're not going to encumber for the future of, for example, as you mentioned, the minimum wage, the PERA contributions, and other contributions. And you always have the right answers. I'm already on top of that, Mayor, and
Yes.
I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Because not everybody has that foresight to look into the budget for the future. And as much experience as you bring to the table, we're very fortunate to have you. So thank you very much for making all of our jobs a lot easier.
I appreciate you
Absolutely.
saying that.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, let's continue.
The next item is the finance report, and that's Ms. Baker.
So we're into 9 months of our fiscal year, which represents 75% of our budget. And year-to-date through March 31st, the general fund has received total, on the cash basis, total cash receipts of $8,934,756. The general fund has expended on the cash basis $8,027,943. The enterprise funds revenues are reported on the accrual basis, meaning these are actual billings, not actual collections as of yet. Total revenues billed $12,494,724. Expenditures are on the cash basis, $11,322,491. The recreation center is also based on the cash base, recorded on the cash basis, including the general fund transfer in for a total amount of $443,864. Actual expenditures, cash basis $420,498 for a total net increase in cash of $23,366.
Questions, comments?
Questions?
A couple of questions.
Okay, Councilor Casey.
Thank you. On the general fund revenue comparison, just out of curiosity, the property tax revenue is $156,532 less this year than the same date last year. Is that because that money still hasn't come in yet, or?
Well, as I was preparing the budget, I was taking a look at the actuals to see how they were coming in, and I have seen that $150,000 less. It could be maybe, there's a couple of possibilities, and that's that last year we collected, or the county treasurer collected delinquent taxes because properties were going to go up for auction and people made sure they paid in. Or this year, not as many, some of us pay our property taxes 100% in November, and some people wait to pay half in November and half in May. So there's that possibility. It's either one or the other. And that's one of the areas in the budgeting that I'm not prepared to budget quite as much as we budgeted last year because I'm not seeing that income flow coming in.
Okay. And then on the gross receipts tax?
Yes.
There are nice increases there?
Yes.
Over last year? And also the infrastructure? There were increases also in the miscellaneous line item. Any explanation as to how come we're doing so much better than we were doing last year?
We've had quite a bit of construction going on, and that really assists. They were still finishing up in after July. The roofers were still finishing up their work for the hail damage and the vehicles that were also damaged with hail. They were eating here. They were renting, and that's helped. We have Grand Avenue that had started up, and that also helps in I'm not aware of any other major construction, but I have seen that increase.
That's good news. So, thank you, that's all.
I'd like to add to that, Ms. Vega, and I'm sure you're aware of this, that the construction industry's ratios indicators are also showing that statewide revenues are up, in addition to the fact that we received some very good news that under the previous governor, they had to cut down 1,000 jobs and could not fill or move forward with a lot of the projects.
That's correct.
Either infrastructure, capital improvement, or road funds, but because of a huge surplus, that's going to be exceptionally positive.
Yes.
For the new governor and hopefully for future administrations and localities and municipalities.
And I'm hopeful that it will continue. You know, that it doesn't kind of stop where it's at. And because our community is dependent on this GRT. And a fact that a lot of people don't realize is we have a lot of fixed income families. And so without this inflow of outside people coming and spending their money, it would hurt us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor, members of the council, now we can go on through consent agenda items. The
Please,
first,
thank you very much.
First one is, and I'll have Danelle read the consent agenda items, number one, and there's only one.
Item number one, approval of resolution 19-18.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda item number one as read into the record proper.
Thank you very much. Do I have a
Second.
Second. Councilor Howell, roll call, please.
Councilor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let's continue.
The next item on the agenda is item number one, business items, approval, disapproval to award RFP number 2019-6 to DAG Enterprises for gasoline fleet repair services for the City of Las Vegas Police Department. I have Chief Bibb.
Madam Mayor, honorable councilors, the police department's financial specialist actually prepared a list of questions that the governing body had with reference to this. I have enough copies for each one of you, and if you would like, I can read them into the record.
Yes,
or-
read them into the record and then provide that to the clerk so she can disseminate the information.
So the first question was asked regarding how DAG Enterprises estimated labor rates, various service procedures. The software utilized for labor rates consist of Identiflix and Mitchell Pro Demand. These databases provide labor guides as well as information regarding labor time. This information can be found under facility description in supplemental questionnaire within the completed RFP. Question 2, another question was asked regarding what types of routine and preventative maintenance was performed on police units. We perform preventative maintenance based on a schedule brought to us by the Las Vegas Police Department. This schedule is located within Schedule A of the RFP, and with a note that the maintenance schedule is based on 5,000-mile intervals and only carrying out preventative maintenance work from this schedule when more than just an oil change is required. Next question is about what type of warranties were offered on the work. Any work performed on the police department will have warranty on all materials and work for 120 days or 4,000 miles, whichever occurs first. This information can also be found in Exhibit A and scope of service section of the RFP. And final question is, a concern arose in the accessibility of the RFP to other shops within the city of Las Vegas. The RFP was first published on December 19th of 2018 on the City of Las Vegas website, as well as the Las Vegas Optic. A problem occurred with the structure of the RFP after the allotted time frame to respond, and led for the RFP to be published a second time, along with an addendum on January 14th of 2019, which was also published on the city's website and the Las Vegas Optic.
Okay, thank you very much. Could you please provide those to our
Certainly.
clerk and ensure she...
Also, Madam Mayor and members of the council, I was provided with a reference letter on DAG Enterprises submitted from Luna College and their trades automotive faculty.
Okay. Could you read the letter into the record as well?
Certainly. To whom it may concern, I currently serve as the full-time faculty for the Automotive Technology program at Luna Community College. The program was in the process of securing NATEF accreditation, and we were seeking qualified individuals interested in serving on the evaluation team. DAG was more than willing to volunteer his time to be on that team. One of the reasons that I asked DAG is because he is one of the few shops in Las Vegas that is ASE, Automotive Service Excellence, certified. I reached out to a majority of the shops in the Las Vegas area and would say that 85% of the shops are not ASE certified or have certified individuals as employees. Being an educator, I stress to my students the importance of being an ASE certified technician, or if they get their education in a different field, it is stressed the importance of taking their vehicles to ASE certified shops or technician for repairs. DAG being one of the few shops in Las Vegas area, I would not hesitate to take my vehicles to him or recommending DAG for repairs to other people that ask for a suggested shop. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to call, and it's signed by Eugene Sandoval, automotive instructor for Luna Community College.
Thank you very much. Okay, questions, comments? Oh, that's a different one. Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Gallegos. Chief,
Sir.
I'm sure you heard Mr. Montano speak. And his concern was primarily not getting the information like he used to do it in previous years through your department. Is that still ongoing, or? Because he had mentioned that I guess her name is Marla?
Marla Martinez is our financial specialist.
Right, that she would alert the shops that there is an RFP out there? I'm not sure.
What has been the practice since I have taken the seat has been that it is advertised, and we wait the allotted amount of time, and whoever puts in their bid is looked at. And in this case, there was only one that was placed.
Right.
Okay, I have a question on that. Tana, is that practice consistent?
Yes.
Okay, so it is consistent with
Yes.
our process. Okay, thank you. Continue, Councilor.
I think we need to find a different way or a better way to alert our community members about these RFPs. Because apparently they're not either getting it or being aware of it. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Casey.
At last week's meeting, one of my concerns was that the scope of work was inconsistent. Number 1 says one thing, number 3 says something else. And it was my understanding, I don't know if I misunderstood, but it was my understanding that the language in the agreement would be changed so that there is no conflict of what the scope of work actually is. And I'm referring to page 1, number 1 says, perform gasoline fleet mechanical duties as assigned as a redundant solution. This does not include the following: oil changes, flat repairs, vehicle alignments, and so on through H. And then number 3 says, perform specialized gasoline mechanical duties in the repair and inspection of gasoline fleet. Well, that's pretty much, regular maintenance stuff. So I don't understand why one says you can't do it and the other one says they do. So, and then in looking at the information that you sent us in our packets, a lot of the work that is already being done by DAG is just regular maintenance stuff. So my question is, do they do it? Do they not do it? Are they going to do it with this contract? Is it going to still be going to Big O to do the regular maintenance stuff? To me, it's a duplication of services, so I would like the agreement to be clear as to what exactly it is that DAG will be doing and what exactly it is that will go to Big O or other vendors that provide additional services. I know that DAG doesn't do tire rotations and things like that, but some of the itemized invoices that were sent in by DAG do have some of the regular maintenance things that are being done. So my question is, can we get the scope of work, the agreement, to actually reflect what they will be doing instead of, a mishmash of what's being done and what is not being done?
I have a question, Councilor Casey. You raised a concern, you said that based on your information that they're itemized invoices from DAG. When did you review those itemized invoices? 'Cause I don't see them. I don't do the actual day-to-day operations.
They came in
the process? Okay, so.
They're in our packet.
Okay, got that. Gotcha. Okay, so if that is the case, I think that there is a concern, and I'm not certain who wants to answer this for Councilor Casey, but the issue of the language change, once it has been advertised and we're ready to award, okay, I don't believe that we can change that unless we go back out and rebid that, if I'm correct, and consistent with the actual process. So there's a couple of things that she's raised. One of them is the issue of general information and charges of that versus specialized charges for specialized equipment. So I'm thinking, who is the best person here, candidate, to address the actual contract? Now, I might have to vote on this, so I don't want to provide testimony or contract review. So I'm going to ask one of you to determine who is going to answer those questions and be very specific.
The contract itself, I think we had 2 or 3 changes, Councilor Casey, that you had requested last week, and I believe Danelle changed the contract to include, to exclude the routine maintenance, because that was one of the issues that had been brought up. The other item was that the addendums would come back to mayor and council for approval. That was the other one. And then one was a spelling error. I believe that those were the 3 items that you had. And so we changed that because of the issues that you had brought up. Now, if we do the scope of the contract, then I would refer that to city attorney to write up the scope of the contract the way the RFP was issued and written, and have her verify it, along with Chief Bibb and myself.
If I may?
I'm sorry, please.
The contractual terms that we have on our computers and what we got in our packets do not show those changes. And so if you look at page 2, the term of this agreement shall be for a period of 1 year, renewable, year to year, maximum of 4 years, with the annual approval of the city manager. So it's still there.
Right, but the amendment on number 9 of page 3 says this contract will not, this is the one I thought that you had referred to. It says this contract will not be altered, changed, or amended except by approval of mayor and council, and of course signed by the parties to this contract.
Yes, but that's alteration, changing, or amendment.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about the actual renewal of the contract, and that's what I was concerned about in
number 2 on page 2.
Yes.
So you want that changed to
Yes.
the renewal, meaning that the amendment comes back to mayor and council, and we can,
Not the amendment, not just the amendment,
the term.
but the renewal
Right.
also.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes, Councilor.
I think the biggest concern isn't the contract. I know that could be, the agreement between the 2 parties. The question that I brought forth last week, and then again, is the actual RFP has that same language. So we can't amend the contract if the original RFP has that language.
That's right.
And if you go to Exhibit A of the actual RFP, you run into that whole preventive maintenance, and then on A, and then on B, it talks about excludes the oil changes. And then there's another part. Page 3. On page 8 of the RFP, okay, so you go there, and then on page 6, you actually have a vehicle maintenance record. This is also in the RFP, and it also, discusses it does have the schedule for oil and filter, which is an oil change. So, I know on the contract that could be amended, but my concern is that RFP itself discusses the oil changes in there.
The schedule that's on there, page 6, that's the Las Vegas Police Department schedule. And that shows.
Well, that's part of the RFP proposal.
But it's a vehicle maintenance record. It's a vehicle maintenance record that they keep on each vehicle.
Okay, but
That's
if
what
you
they're
go to
showing.
some of the language, and I thought I had written it down, but there's language in there that says that the vendor will follow that schedule.
Any other questions?
The other question that I had in the vendor's proposal, and I don't know, this again could probably be negotiated, is the hours that were requested in the RFP, say 7:30 to 5, and the vendor put 7:30 to 3, or 3:30. So would that have met the RFP?
That's actually why we do proposals, because the final terms are negotiated with the vendor. On any proposal, a bid, if we receive a bid and we have
And of course, it was the only one.
the bid would have prevented us from negotiating with the vendor. The proposals don't. Proposals are meant to be able to negotiate the final terms and conditions with the vendor. And that's why we put the proposals out. Because of some of the issues and some of the changes that we may have on an annual basis. And of course, those issues come back to Mayor and Council for final approval, as Councilor Casey requested.
And then the other question in the RFP is page 13, where it says, please specify whether OEM or aftermarket parts will be used. It says, please be aware the city requires use of OEM parts. We all know that parts, and I think Councilor Yildirim could vouch for this, is, those OEM parts are a lot more expensive. And I don't know if you guys, and I understand PD, has there's specs for, the brakes and that of those vehicles. But, this RFP, as we mentioned before, Madam Mayor, is that utilities could tag on to it, and that the cost of those OEM parts are quite more costly versus where the local parts stores have the premium parts, which are, pretty close to the, the original equipment for GM, but they're, they're more cost effective, which they're just as good.
The question on that is, was that specific to the actual proposal, the OEM versus the premium?
So I guess my question is so 100% of the time on any vehicles that have been bought in the past are OEM parts?
But was that in the proposal?
That's what was in the contract, in the RFP.
Okay, so if it was in the proposal, then it has to be consistent with the actual proposal.
Other than if we go back and we negotiate with the vendor.
Okay.
For a different part.
Okay.
And that the proposal does.
Again, the RFP has that language.
The proposal allows us to.
But the proposal versus the bid process
Am I
is
correct,
entirely
Esther?
different?
That's correct. And I don't see, I'm trying to follow your language. And Exhibit A, it does specifically exclude oil changes in the RFP. Excludes oil changes, vehicle alignments, flat tire repair, mount and balance of tires, rotation and balance of tires, and tire replacement and air filters, which I think is consistent with the proposed agreement.
Well, being, in that same industry, when they bring, and I've done through GES services out of Santa Fe, the fleet, is that if you doing a preventative maintenance and it's time for that oil change, well, you got to do that oil change. So how can we say do the preventive maintenance but don't do the oil change? Okay, those are my questions.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the oil changes are handled internally. Is that correct?
They are. They're bid out. They're quoted out. Am I correct?
They're quoted out to various vendors.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big O.
Yeah, they're the quoted. They part this part. Any other questions? Okay, I guess we're ready to move forward then. What is the pleasure of the board?
So, excuse me, Mayor.
You do have a question.
Was there any more need for clarification on your questions? Because I'm kind of confused. Were you asking, should we rebid the RFP?
Actually, that would be me leading the question, Councilor Howell. And if Councilor Romero felt that he needed more clarification, let him ask.
And that's, my interpretation, of course, just being in the field and, I think it contradicts each other. Me personally, I think that the RFP should be redone.
But because it's, the bidding process is entirely different than the RFP process. So the RFP, as has been stated here by numerous people, allows for negotiations of that proposal versus an actual bid.
But if they did a proposal.
See, a proposal is not tied into specific quantitative measures. So if you're doing the actual bid, you're tied into quantitative measures versus the actual proposal, which allows for some leniency with regards to the negotiation.
But not if the language is specific in there.
But that's more quantitative measure on the bid versus the actual proposal. And they have now, based on your recommendations to council, the authority to negotiate what they feel that the council wants versus had they gone out and brought in the actual bid, then that would have been a quantitative measure, and that has to be tied in specifically to each unit. And that's not what's happened here, because we're looking at two different processes, totally different processes.
They may be different processes, but what I'm hearing is that, yes, it can be changed, and no, it can't.
Yes, it can.
And so, you know, how can the scope of work be changed if the work that is to be done is specifically listed in the RFP? So I don't see how you can say that, yes, it can be changed.
Okay, I'll have,
negotiated, when it's very clear
And if I
that
could,
it can't be.
if I could make one more comment on that, is, okay, as we know, there was only one vendor. If other vendors, and I know Mr. Montaño said he didn't know nothing about it, which, you know, we did the proper notification. But if other vendors out there saw what the requirements were in that RFP and said, well, you know, I don't want to do that because it excludes oil. Let's use that example. They don't want, you know, they want to do something that includes the oil changes, so they didn't bid on it. That's what I'm trying to bring forth, is that language, based off of whoever read it, I mean, it could have excluded individuals from applying for it. Maybe that's why we didn't get it. I'm just saying that language should be, you know, properly notified.
See, the other thing too that the city council has done in the past, Councilor Valero, is that we've had like 2 or 3 bidders on the actual proposal. We have 3 or 4, and you know this, Emery, you've been through this, you and Tana, many times. And those bidders submit the actual proposal. Some of them don't, as you stated, want to do but a specific section of that. And DAG specializes primarily in certain areas as well. We're all aware of that. And I think it's $70 per hour on their work is actually very reasonable within this specific area. So what they've done is they submit the bid regardless. And then we, as a body, have the authority to, at that point in time, give direction to the city manager to issue the proposal and split it up essentially. And it's been done before. Am I right?
Yeah.
But it has to be done in an open meeting. So had they bid on it, and they should have asked questions, then possibly there would have been an opportunity for them.
But we can't assume, we can't assume that's what they were going to do.
We don't know. We don't know.
Like I said, you know,
I
the
don't
last
know what
meeting
was
is I
going on
ran
in his head
into
at the time.
three vendors that all asked, you know, I asked them about it. They said that they weren't aware of it, which, you know, it's, to me, I disagree with just, you know, notifying in the, you know, in the newspaper, but it is what it is. We did properly notify, I mean, we did do everything the way we were. The problem that I have is the language within the RFP, to me, cannot be changed. That's my.
Well, the proposal is different than the bid. It's totally 2 different things, and those are the things that have been discussed here openly about how we can negotiate. But go ahead, Anne.
Well, we've received proposals before for various things, infrastructure, as well as other projects within the city. If, let's say, we feel that we can do, after we receive proposals, if, as a matter of fact, I believe the fencing at Bradner Dam was too expensive. So we went ahead and did away with the fencing, but it was a proposal, so we were able to negotiate with the vendor to not include the fencing at that time because it was very costly. And that's the one that comes to mind right now that I'm talking about. So a proposal allows you a lot of, some flexibility with the final contract, but, you know, so I don't know what else to tell you other than it does allow.
That's where the alternative additives and deductives come in.
Yes, ma'am.
That's how you address it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Councilor,
I just have a comment. You know, that DAG's for what they're charging us for $70 an hour, that's really reasonable because I have a business here in town and we're up to $85 an hour, and I'd say maybe 20 or 30 businesses that do the same kind of work we do are up between 80 and 100 an hour, So, he's been doing our services for quite a bit, a lot of years. He knows what he's doing with the police vehicles, any other heavy equipment stuff that they take. He's been doing it for years. It's real reasonable. He's treating the city of Las Vegas very well.
Okay, let's move on with the decision of the governing body. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Oliveri.
approval to award the RFP 2019-6 to DAX Enterprise for gasoline fleet repair service for the city of Las Vegas Police Department.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a second? Okay, we don't have a second, so do I have another motion, or does the motion die?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Romero.
I make a motion to reject the RFP and to...
You have to approve or disapprove.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to disapprove the RFP and to redo the RFP process for the police department maintenance.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
No.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion
Okay. Motion
Thank you,
dies.
Madam Mayor, members of the
Motion carries,
council.
dies and carries.
I'm
We have two
sorry.
different motions, okay.
The next item is councilors' reports.
Okay, Counselor Romero.
Where do I start? Okay, first item, and I know I made a call to Miss Anna Marie pertaining to skunks. I know last fall, and Councilor Howell and I think the majority of us here felt that we should come up with a plan as far as, how to deal with skunks. Do you know where we're at with that plan?
Well, we're not allowed to do anything with them or to partake in any of skunk removal. We still have, and we have two vendors here in town that will work with us and that are reasonable, and so those were the two vendors that we would have people contact, because they are the ones.
Because of what, state statute?
Yes, ma'am. The wildlife won't even do anything with the skunks. I know that the skunk issue will be coming up very quickly, but we are still not allowed to touch them. We're not allowed to operate them, and last year we did want to look into it. We contacted the Wildlife Service. They are not even allowed to do anything with them, but we do have two vendors here in town that will address the issue or the problem.
And I just want to note this, is I don't see how come we can't when the county actually has a fund, depending on the situation, for the skunk removal, so I don't know, how they're handling that.
Well, they're funding it. They would fund, I guess, the removal of the skunks, and I don't know what regulations, and I can look into that if you'd like.
And I just want to explain the situation that to me was frustrating. I went, okay, so this skunk was literally dead in the middle of an alley, and I know, the alley is considered the responsibility of the homeowner or the property owner, but the thing, it was like literally right in the middle of the property. So, one neighbor was telling me, well, it's not mine, it's not my responsibility. So I just felt, hey, we're dealing with this. I went myself, got the proper, protection, everything that I needed, and it was like, okay, it took 10 minutes. You know what I mean? It's kind of frustrating that in those scenarios that, what happens in the road? Do we just leave it, in the city road? How do we handle those ones? Do we just leave it there till it disintegrates, or? What are we doing? And that's totally unfair for the residents, is, the smell during that time as it's decaying, it's just something that I know.
We can't call the shelter because the shelter is not able to doing, yeah.
It just, we're at that time, and I think, you know, we need to be on top of that. If you could, you know, make sure that they're on that. The other thing that I have is we got our director reports, and there seems to be a lot of pests and insects in the museum.
Yes,
Okay.
you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, we're looking into that and getting hold of the contractor that does housing. We're going to get a hold of them and see just exactly what we have to do. I did read those, both in the museum and in municipal court.
I have one last thing here is I think we've all been bombarded, and you had Mr. Lalo didn't mention it today, but I received about 5 phone calls today pertaining to water bills. I guess on social media, there was a big thing that people were being overcharged on their water bills and come to the city. You know, we got one resident that came. So I made a couple calls to the school districts to ask them, you know, in the past few months, has the watering, you know, has the bills increased? One of the school districts, they paid $17,000, and then in November, December. Then in January, went to $36,000. So I kind of put two things together that I think, you know, us as a governing body, we need to, you know, see how the water billing is, how the water bills, you know, how all that's conducted. You know, I know there's some questions, what are they doing, the, you know, those scan things, you know, what's the process? So, Madam Mayor, and councilors, tonight I'm asking for a special meeting so we could have discussion on that. On that, I'm putting discussion, water billing issues and detailed explanation of procedures that, you know, it's up to you guys if you guys want to sign. I know I've had difficult times sometimes requesting a special meeting, but if you guys would sign this, then I'll turn it into, I don't know who now, is it you, Ms. Turk, or to Anna Marie?
Before we move forward with anything, I'd like to, a special meeting. I think we need to hear from Maria, because you're talking about the school versus residential. The residential rate is entirely different from the commercial rate. So that you're talking apples and oranges. And then with regards to looking at the structure and the rate, we are already in the process of conducting a rate structure. So we will be having a meeting once that rate structure has been completed that we will bring to the council, and we will have public input meetings regarding that rate structure. So it is a lengthy process of discussion. And at that point in time, we will be looking at both commercial and residential rates as well as the ETZ rates, correct? Maria, could you please?
To answer that question, Mayor, yes, our contractor consultant is looking at all rates related to water and solid waste and wastewater. Our process is not done by hand anymore like it used to be done. It is done electronically and then verified if necessary. So if a customer comes in and has a concern or a question with their read and believes it's in error, then we'll send somebody out to do a physical read. And they all come back as accurate. The electronics are a lot more accurate. Sometimes our meter readers would miss a factor. If it was a factor of 10, they might not take into consideration that factor, or they might see a 6 as a 9 or a 9 as a 6. But with automation, we're much more accurate. Just like the city's been having trouble or issues with water leaks, so have private businesses and schools. I would recommend anybody who does have a substantial or any kind of increase, just come see us. We can print out 24-hour graphs that show exactly how much water. When we had an issue here at City Hall, the city manager informed me, I immediately printed out a week's worth of graphs, and I can tell you every time anybody goes to the bathroom here at City Hall.
I didn't know that.
Yes. 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, really big times.
And I didn't mention the structures, Madam Mayor. I just said discussion of the water billing issues and detailed explanation of the procedures.
But all of that falls into the actual rate structure and what's already been approved by the council. So I would strongly advise that we hold off on that until we actually get something from the individuals who have been hired to conduct the
Madam Mayor, just my responsibility as a council member, I can request a special meeting.
Yes, you can,
And I'm asking
but listen,
councilors, here
you
it
can
is.
also
You guys wanna
request
sign that.
and put together a town hall meeting to address the concerns within your specific ward, if that's what you would like. Now, I would have a hard time calling a special meeting when we're in the midst And Maria, who is an expert in the field, is advising you of what the problems are. So I know for a fact that you do your staff does work exceptionally well with the community and the constituency, as well as any commercial businesses out there. Go ahead, Mike.
And Madam Mayor, I would request that anytime any consumer, customer, as well as counselor come by and see us. I have spoken with counselors before who've had concerns with specific constituents, where we can sit down and with the constituents' permission, look at their account and be able to find out what may be going on to help the resident be able to address their issues. So each one is unique in many cases. Sometimes they're internal leaks, sometimes they're external leaks, sometimes they're just increased consumption. We've had people who have multiple families living in homes, and it is a small town, so a lot of times we do know when there's more than one generation living in a home, and we can kind of see it in the water consumption. So there are multiple reasons why, and specifically with a school, I would need to know what time frame we're talking about, because we are about 40 days. There's about a 40 to 60 day difference between when your meter's read and when you're going to get your bill. So sometimes people see the bill and they think it was recent when it was actually 30 to 60 days ago, and we need to put our minds back into that time frame, what was going on at that time frame that might have contributed to increases or decreases in consumption. So I would ask, if possible, Councilor, that either...
And the reason why I contacted the schools, being there, I know they're the biggest users within the community. So I said, okay, well, I'm getting these calls in the residents. Well, if there's issues with, with meters or whatever, let me check the biggest users.
And I've spoken with the schools beforehand when some of the schools were going to start closing down some of their buildings to find out what they were going to do to see if it was going to impact our revenues. And many of the schools were trying to consolidate. So what was happening in multiple buildings, and I can't say this is exactly what's happening here, what was happening in multiple buildings is now happening in fewer buildings, longer times during the day. And I don't like to say this is definitely what's happening. I really would prefer if there's specific situations.
So I know there's, and the reason why I'm saying, okay, it clicks in my head, okay, do we have a citywide issue? I mean, that's, first thing that I'm thinking, is it citywide? Because, like I said, if it's one or two, it's like, Mr. Lalo comes in and, okay, is it just him dealing with it? But now you hear so many of these issues popping up, and then, I called the school and I only got a response from one of them. I just want to know, okay, do we do an audit? Are we doing every so often, are we checking to make sure, all the meters, because there's going to be those residents that they're not going to make the calls, they're not going to call me.
Yes.
They're just going to pay the bill.
All of our meters, since it is electronic, if there is an increase in consumption, it triggers our computer system to tell us, and we actually send out notices that there is a change in consumption. So we, and we do have a lot of customers that do get concerned about their changes. It's a portion of the community, and usually when they come in and we can sit down with them and explain them, then most of the time they understand. Sometimes they don't, because they don't see the leak, and those are the harder ones but we do everything we can to help the customer. We'll go out and help try and locate the leak with them if possible, or the increased consumption if it's not a leak.
And I think, your explanation is fine. It just, in a wider, broad, in a meeting, that's what I want, for you to explain, from maybe, bringing in, a meter that's removed, just so that way, we understand the whole process from beginning, how when the monthly, how they're scanned, from beginning to end, and so there's that understanding for us. It's not, all I'm asking is for, discussion, getting what she said, but in a more broad, the details. But, like I said, I'll have that, and if Madam Mayor again refuses to have a meeting.
I think what Maria is saying, Madam Mayor, Councilor, is that each customer is very unique, and I think you understand that. I think that each and every customer, and some will have the leaks, and we address them as we hear. But to give a more detailed explanation, I think that she probably has a standard operating procedure that she can also share with us. And so and if that's what we're at, if that's what you'd like to hear,
that's all.
It's up to you people, but we can also do that. Okay.
I have a question.
And then the last thing,
Thank you, Maria.
potholes. I know we all have, those issues, but again, I'm just bringing it up because we get the calls again. As a matter of fact, I have probably about 18 addresses here, and I've been patient because I understand, the amount of staff, and Little Leagues were, opening ceremony, all that was happening. But I'm asking you, city manager, and, could you think about, maybe a detailed crew that just specific, I know, they're doing other things, but just to do the potholes, and
Well-
just a suggestion, I mean, that's up to you, you decide.
Absolutely. And I'll let Christie address you as well. But we have had, Christie, I think it's been a week and a half of pothole days, if we may. And of course, the weather has hindered us today. We were unable to do it. We did one on Monday or Tuesday. We did.
Monday was the last day we were able to get hot mix out of Pampa. We did a water cut in New Mexico that DOT's been wanting done, and then we continued on pothole patching on the west side. I provided you guys a list on all the ones we've done in the past month. And now for this month, I've got a whole full page already done. It's just,
Can I ask you on one specific that, it's kind of the one in front of Plaza Drugs that, it's turned into almost a dirt road on that piece. And there's other ones, but that one, to me, you get tourists coming into the community and they see that big pothole is.
It's not, it's actually a utility cut, I believe is what it was, and so.
we had a real bad.
Yeah, I remember that.
Water leak, yeah.
But was that going to be filled in soon?
Yeah. We're going day by day on weather permitting.
And I know that I reported that myself on 2 occasions already, so I know you're on top of it.
We just had a very, very difficult winter, and so we're catching up, and I understand your frustration as well. I think we're all frustrated because I think we've all run over some tires and done some damage, but we're going to continue to work on them.
And like I said, I know your staff is working and, doing all these different things, and, you have hands all over, and I don't discredit that. I'm just, a committed crew to hit them. And
Okay.
that's
Okay.
it.
Thank you very much, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yep.
Councilor Casey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have my ongoing concern about code enforcement. I did get a call late last week about the property on the corner of Railroad and National, and this has been a problem for years. I believe that area has been cleaned up by the city, and it's back to its original state. The people in that area are complaining about tires being burned, which is very toxic, smoke coming into the air.
Railroad and National, you said?
Yes.
Is it that Garcia property?
Yes.
That's been reported as well. But I think the best thing is, where's Virginia? Is she here? Give us an update on that, Virginia. We've discussed that. Yeah, or was it Emery? We had cleaned it up in the past.
We've cleaned it up before. And so, but what I'll do is I'll send a crew back out there and see what it needs to do. I'm not sure if it must be.
We actually abated it years ago. So we're probably going to have to go through that
We might
same
have to go
process all
through
over
the
again.
abatement one more time.
Exactly. Because he's pretty much filled it up with garbage again.
Okay. And there's still others that I've called in and asked that something be done last May. It's going to be a year next month, and nothing has been done.
If you call them in to me, I'll work on them. Just
Okay,
give you an
'cause
update.
I have about 5 that
Absolutely.
have called in, and
All right.
there hasn't been any motion, no reports on those properties, and people are getting very upset, and when they call me, it's like, you're not doing anything.
And that's a fair question.
Yeah.
But I'd like to have our city attorney address the actual abatement process because it's very long.
Oh, I know, it's very long, I've read it.
It's
and
lengthy, but if you'll
I don't
give me-
need an explanation, but
Sure.
it would be nice if we could have an update as to where they are in that abatement process, so that when people call me, I can say, well, they've already red tagged it, or they've done this, or they've done that. so that I have something to say to people so that they know that there's actual movement in the abatement process. The other thing, I attended a talk by an asylum and immigration attorney Monday evening, and Mr. Aragon mentioned earlier a possible influx of refugees and people who are seeking asylum. And I don't know if the city has any kind of plan to deal with those people and how we can address the situation and help them as best as we can. I do know that at the housing meeting that I attended yesterday, the 5-year plan, I asked that question, and according to HUD guidelines, people who have asylum status are eligible to live in public housing. Persons, mothers who have children that were born in the United States can also have temporary housing, and they're classified as mixed families because the child is American citizen, but the mother is undocumented. So those people have status. But if we have other people that are being just bussed in and left at sanctuary area, and San Miguel County is a sanctuary county, we are going to have to have some kind of plan to address that issue if it comes to pass. The other one, I have a request that we get a monthly breakdown of the lodger's tax budget so that we can also know what's coming in, what's going out, what it's being used for. I think the information that Virginia gave us this evening is very helpful to us so that we know what's happening at those meetings. I had been coming to the meetings, but then memory lapse or something happened and I forgot that they were just quarterly and not every month. And so I would show up for a meeting and it's like, oh, there's no meeting today. And let's go back home. And so I need to get back on track with that, but I would appreciate that very much.
We can provide the March, I believe that one is already ready to go, and so we can provide that, put it in all your boxes.
Okay. And recently I read that Tomas Garcia, who is the executive director for the Northeast Economic Development Organization, will be leaving his post and someone new will be coming in. And so I looked on their website and found that Madam Mayor is a member of the board of directors. And I also read the bylaws, which say that the person that is appointed to the board of directors should be appointed by the council. And we never had that opportunity. I'm not disputing that she shouldn't be there, but I'm saying that we should have had the opportunity to make that appointment as a council. And I don't think anybody should self-appoint. And my last item is I have a complaint on a NIPRA request that was done. And I would, from the constituent who made the request, but I would like to request that when the time comes that we go into executive session so that we can discuss that, because it would specifically address a particular employee from the city. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if you know Rose from TRICARE Center. She lives on 7th Street.
Yes.
And, okay.
Rosemary.
Right.
Yes, Rosemary.
She showed me some pictures again just before I came into the council meeting. And in front of her house, the sidewalk is just caving in right at where the street and the sidewalk meet. You'll see big holes going down. So please, if you can, take a look at that.
It's on Dalby, am I right?
Pardon me?
Is it Dalby?
No, it's not Dalby. I don't remember the street name, but it's on the right-hand side as you're going up Walmart.
Legion?
I'll find the address and I'll.
Lee Drive?
No, it's before Lee Drive. It's where former Councilman Gallegos, Carlos Gallegos lives, in that area, and also
Sperry?
Diane Moore. Not Sperry.
Meadow?
Meadow.
Highlands.
Yeah,
Well, I
Meadow.
think,
Meadowcrest.
I think Gallegos lives on Sperry.
He has homes there, but he doesn't live there, because I went to his house. on,
Okay, if you can remember the address, by all means.
Yeah, I'll get
Call
the
me.
address again, but it's
That's a
really
Meadow Crest.
important that we take a look at that, okay? One more thing, since we're talking about RFPs, why don't we get an RFP together for skunk control? If you're saying that we have vendors here in our community that does skunk control, then maybe if we can do an RFP, get those program going on, because you're saying that skunk problem's going to be coming up real soon, and that's what Councilman Romero said. So, and we've been talking about this for a long time, and no one wants to really take control of that. The wildlife, you said, is not wanting to, and I know the county had it. I think 4 years ago they had a contract with somebody, I guess, from Colfax County, that he came down and took care of the skunks, captured them, and took them with him and did whatever he needed to do with them.
What I'll do is I'd like to get a hold of the county and see how they're handling it. And the only issue is the contract. I don't believe that we would be able to do any personal property, anything that's owned by a property owner, I don't think. I'm just
I mean,
thinking.
that's a citywide problem.
It is a citywide problem, but, well, and I'll find out the details first, and then bring it back to you.
Right. And I think
And
the county did away with it because of lack of funding. That was one reason.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Mulready.
Madam Mayor, some questions on the lighting on Mills Avenue. I think we had discussed this maybe 2-3 months ago, and we're there's still.
We did. Is there still some out that,
Yeah.
Danny, can you
Be-
address the
between,
lighting on Mills?
Between 8th and,
We're on the lines there, but I'll have Ernest tomorrow go in to make sure that everything got taken care of. It might need some bulbs for the balances that bring back,
Mhm.
like that. But they did address the short that was on there. I don't know, he had the time to go back because he's right now.
maybe if you have a chance now, now that
Right,
if
I'll
you're going
go
that way, you
there.
could kind of, and then there's another, on North Gonzales, right to where Councilman Macario Gonzalez lives.
Yes.
There's another street light that's burned,
As
a
far
bulb
as the
is burnt or
streetlights,
something.
if they're on a wooden pole, they belong to P&M. All you gotta do is give us a call, and we'll go ahead and mark them out, and then we'll have P&M come out and replace the bulb.
Okay.
We'll get that for you.
And now that the Little League just started up at the west side, there's a lot of traffic going through on Grand Street, and there's a lot of people that just don't stop on the stop sign. They just, maybe if you have a little bit of patrol there at nights, especially when the games are over, or, because there's, I live in that area, and there's quite a bit of traffic in there, so.
Yes, sir.
And just want to thank everybody else, all the directors and all the potholders, all the work you guys done on the city. There's a lot more, but thanks for everything you guys do for us.
And if you have a listing, by all means, just let us have it, and
Okay, now.
we'll address as quickly as we can. And that goes for everyone.
Okay. Another question. The tank up at the Valencia tank. I know me and Maria talked about sometimes that you got water going through there a lot, and also I don't know what she was talking about, the float, trying to adjust the float, or
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure you're working on it, Maria.
Yeah, we're still working on it. We're looking at the system pressures to see if that's what's impacting Valencia overflowing, or if there's something else contributing to it. So we're still looking into it.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor. Yes.
I just, this is just fun, don't take this, mean in any way, but The mayor in Albuquerque is filling potholes too. I don't know if you consider to do that here.
If I was good at this,
I'm just joking, you know.
I have told Christy how many times, Christy, I get advice from everyone on how to fill a pothole. And they say you're supposed to pour oil in first, and then you're supposed to put the asphalt and mix it in and do all the stuff. So I give Christy all my recommendations.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
He only did one, Counselor.
I'm joking, you know, because I don't know if he was challenging all the others.
No, I
Just
could, I
saying.
would, you know, that's something I'd love to learn.
I think we should call Domino's.
Yeah. With regards to my.
Yes, how many did they do? Yes.
With regards to my defense, I have to say, and Councillor Casey, you've raised a question about the mayor appointment to the New Mexico Economic Development District. When I first found out about that position, it was Councillor Howell who actually raised the question to me because he wanted to be appointed to the committee. So I actually contacted the president at the time, and he said it is the mayor who appoints consistent with the charter. So I actually took the appointment myself because I am the mayor, and that's what I did. Nowhere have they presented to me any guidelines about that actual process. And I did check at that time with the president. I ran it through the president, and he said usually it is the mayor who takes the appointment. Okay, I had no knowledge, I'll be honest with you. I know that the previous mayor did. He was tied into all the appointments statewide. And the only one that had knowledge at that point in time was Councillor Howell. And he did bring that to my attention because he wanted the appointment. So I felt because first of all, I am the chief executive officer of the city. I believe that I'm pretty well versed in the processes of ICIP and many others, and that's why I actually took the appointment. And I believe it was even prior to your election, or close to it.
I believe a long
Shortly
time
after,
ago,
yeah.
the director of the chamber used to hold that position.
Yeah, and then the mayor held it for a while and just kind of moved it around. But it's a simple process. It's nothing but we meet quarterly, and I believe that I'm pretty well versed in that field of economic development, so that's why I took it. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have a need for executive?
I do not.
Okay. Okay, motion to adjourn. Do I have a
No,
motion to
we
adjourn?
have a
Hold on.
motion for
Oh, you do?
executive session.
Yeah. Make a motion to enter executive session as permitted by Section 10, for personnel matters as permitted by Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilor Yulibri?
Yes.
Junior, sorry. Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero and a second by Councilor Casey. Madam Mayor, motion carries.
Okay, let's convene into executive session.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to return back to regular session.
Okay.
After having been in executive session to discuss personnel matters.
As permitted by Section 10-15-1 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act and NMSA 1978.
No action was taken and no decisions were made.
And that's Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Do we have a second? please?
The reason why I'm used to doing it the other way.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, good. Roll call.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Yulibri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero and a second by Councilor Yulibri Jr. Madam Mayor, motion
Okay,
carries.
now I need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
Have a wonderful
Roll
Easter
call.
with your
Happy
family.
Good Friday.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Yulibri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell. Madam Mayor, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.